In this story, our pregnant protagonist deals with physical discomfort and relationships within the werewolf pack. But what pains her most is hiding her past, including her betrayal of the pack to save her brother. This contrast between concealment and truth creates tension and Today, let's see how she balances these contradictions. Chapter 33. This morning, I woke up alone in Grant's bed, his scent lingering on the sheets. As the alpha, he had responsibilities that often called him away early. I stretched, feeling the slight swell of my belly, a reminder of the changes happening within me. Around midday, Shawn appeared, his arms laden with packages. Changing table, cupboards, and armchair we had purchased, along with other baby essentials. With a knowing smile, he relayed Grant's message if I attempted to assemble anything by myself. Abby would be assigned as my personal babysitter for the day. The thought made me roll my eyes. Feeling restless, I decided to seek out Jeff, my longtime friend. However, when I checked my room, he was there. A whinge of worry settled in my chest as I set out to find him, my curiosity getting the better of me. After half an hour of searching, my feet and ankles aching from the extra weight I now carried, I gave up on finding Jeff and decided to look for Grant instead. Ironically, I found both men in the same place, Grant's office. As I approached, I noticed they weren't alone. My habit of eavesdropping took over as I carefully positioned myself near the door. Look, I don't feel comfortable talking to you without Brooke, I heard Jeff say, his voice with skepticism. I resisted the urge to burst in, choosing instead to listen. Grant's deep sigh reached my ears. Brooke doesn't need to know about this. I don't want to add any unnecessary stress to her right now. Yes, but Jeff paused. Vampire dissection by Drake Mason and Eli Grant is an undocumented changeling and forced to pose as a low-level witch. I've known Brooke longer than you have, and if you keep something this big from her, she isn't going to take it lightly. Just answer the question. Raina's impatient voice cut in. What else do you know about S.E.R.O? A long silence followed before Jeff spoke again. Probably not enough for your plan. I knew this was a waste of time. Abby grunted, and I heard footsteps approaching the door. Hang on. You can let me finish, Jeff protested, halting Abby's exit. I might not know enough, but that doesn't mean I can't get more information from other people working there. My heart raced as I processed the conversation, wondering what secrets Grant was keeping from me and why S.E.R.O was suddenly so important. My sister works undercover there. She has trouble as it is getting information at her position. Abby explains, doubt evident in her voice. My mind is buzzing with questions at this point. Why do they want so much info on S.E.R.O? What are they trying to do? Well, if you remember me explaining in the car about the old organization Brooke and I worked at, you'll remember me saying that we had to choose S.E.R.O or on our own. Jeff recaps them. I have friends there, people who are more loyal to me than S.E.R.O because the only reason they joined them was to get a weekly paycheck. Our plan is take down S.E.R.O, Grant says. How can we trust people if by doing their weekly paycheck? I stopped for a moment, holding in a gasp. They're planning on taking down S.E.R.O and Grant thought it best not to tell me. I'm hurt that he would keep it from me, but of course I am being hypercritical when, if he finds out the truth from me, he would just be as hurt. He'll be careful. I have a couple in my mind that I know I can trust, Jeff says, that playfulness in his voice. How about you? You're going to need more people or werewolves or whatever to help you with this. We've allied ourselves with some of the packs around New York. They're willing to help take down the base in the city. And what about the other main base in the middle of nowhere in Nevada? Jeff adds. I noticed the curiosity in his voice. The desert packs there are going to deal with it. We'll have to organize a synchronized attack, so either way they'll have nowhere to run. Grant says, and I, to my horror, I have leaned forward too much near the doorway that when I pull back the floorboard under me squeaks. So I have a mini freak out and pretend to keep walking along, as if I had just walked up their stairs and I'm heading to Grant's apartment. I get to the door about to open it when I hear my name. Brooke, Grant says, stepping out of his office and closing the door, but keeping his hand on the handle. He defiantly didn't want me to know what was happening in there, hey. I forced the casualness into my voice. I was just going to make a late lunch. Do you want to join me? Grant smiles and nods. Yeah, just give me a few minutes, I just have to wrap up some paperwork. He lies and I force myself not to get overly annoyed by it. I just smile. Sure, see you in there. With that, he walks back into his office and I let out a huge breath, leaning against the door. Why must everything be so complicated? I cowed in sleep. My body felt heavy and tired, but my brain was more alive than it has been in a long time. I should feel extremely comfortable with Grant nestled up against my back with an arm around my waist as his hand is sprawled out over my belly. I should feel safe and cozy, but I can't. I carefully remove Grant's arm around my waist. He stirs slightly in his sleep, but he doesn't wake up as I manage to get out of bed. I put on a Grant hoodie to keep my warm as I walk out of the room, tiptoeing the best I can past Raina's room to the kitchen. I look through the cupboards and the fridge but find nothing. I sigh hopelessly as I decide to walk down the dreadful flights of stairs to main kitchen at the bottom floor. I want some comfort food. Peanut butter. I walk into the pantry, about to sit down on the countertop as I normally do, but get a heart attack when I have to walk past the fridge. The door is open and a figure pops up on the other side, making me nearly scream. Jesus. I cry out, putting a hand over my heart as if it would calm down its rapid beating. Caleb seems startled too, but not as much as me as he takes out the carton of milk. He closes the door, giving me a confused look, although some harshness is still there in his eyes. I let out an angry sigh as I keep walking, but find myself stopping halfway to the kitchen exit. You know what, Caleb, whatever reason you hate me. I'm sorry. Have a nice life. I know what you did. I stop in my tracks, turning to face him. His expression is stern. That night in Volts. I knew you weren't there by accident. My heart rate picks up again. Hammering itself on my ribcage is almost painful. I take a stealing breath in hopes it would calm me. How do you know this? Caleb goes to sit on one of the chairs at the countertop, and he shifts his eyes to the one opposite him as an invitation. Not having much choice, I slowly approach him. When I was captured by S.E.R.O, some old dude couldn't help but gloat on how Grant had been so easily distracted by a pretty girl. Caleb starts, and a shiver runs down my spine. The old dude must have been Mr. McCoy. At the bonfire I saw you, and I put two and two together. Although I have been wondering, was it your intention to get pregnant that night? I glare at him, gritting my teeth. No. The only reason I was there was to help my brother. Caleb seems surprised by this. How is hooking up with a guy going to help? I had no intention of hooking up with Grant that night. My task by S.E.R.O was to distract him in order to get to you. In exchange for my help, they were to release my brother. They had other plans. Caleb sits silently. I wait for him to lash out for what I just admitted of doing. Especially to him. Who is your brother? Caleb breaks the silence. Jordan. I state, before my anger flares again. And he wouldn't be locked up there in the first place if you hadn't stolen all his money. Caleb furrows his eyebrows. What are you talking about? That was our pack's money. He stole it from us. My heart sinks at that statement, and quite weakly I say, I don't believe you. That money was for our pack to be able to expand, build small homes for the families here, and thanks to your brother somehow S.E.R.O finally tracked down where all the money went and stole it from a secret account. My head is hung low in shame. Here I was thinking these people might have been the reason for my brother's imprisonment, but I was wrong. He did the criminal charge of stealing, and I had kept it hidden, which makes it worse. In my self-pity, I hadn't noticed Caleb get up from his seat heading out of the kitchen. Wait, I exclaim, and he turns to me, letting out a sigh. You've had 6 months to tell Grant who I really am. Why haven't you? How could I? Brooke, Caleb says sadly. He hates S.E.R.O with everything he has. And if he knew, I know that it would crush him from the inside out. These past few months H.E.S. changed. H.E.S. beginning to trust people see a better future for himself. You and that baby bought that side out of him again. I didn't want to be the one to take it away. But now I am going to take it away from him. Aren't I? I say looking up at Caleb. He smiles sadly at me, knowing what I mean before he heads out of the kitchen. Only have one other thing to do now. Chapter 34. It was late afternoon when Grant whisked me away from the pack house to the lake at which we had Lilith's birthday party. It was also the place we had our first kiss after I had embarrassingly fallen into the lake. He had bought a small bag with some fresh-made sandwiches as a spontaneous picnic. However, all the smiles and laughs I pulled weren't real, as the conversation with Caleb last night kept replying in my head. He knew all along what I had done, but kept it quiet. Part of me is grateful. The other part kind of wished he had told him. Not so he looked like the bad guy. No, just so the band-aid could have been ripped off quicker and I would not have dug myself so deep it's going to be 10 times harder to get out of this one. The conversation was light and airy. The way I liked talking with Grant, as it seemed life was a bit easier with him. The serious stuff becoming simpler to deal with. So Annie said she wanted to talk to you. Grant informs me, and I quirk an eyebrow. Did she say what about? I ask. Something about a birth plan. He says, taking a sip from his drink bottle. My face falls. Birth plan. Something Annie has been nagging me about for a while now. In my stupid attempts to not think about the inevitable, I kept putting it off. I whisper. My mood declining, having to think about childbirth. Hey. I feel Grant hand cupping my cheek. I look up to him, a raw emotion of compassion and caring in his eyes. It'll be there. I've read about some of the support strategies a partner can do during labor in that book of yours. A sad laugh comes out of me, and I hadn't realized I had started to cry as a tear goes tumbling by my cheek. Grant's thumb brushes it away. He is clearly puzzled now as to my change of mood. Why are you crying? He questions. I raise my hand to rest of top of his, savoring his warmth on my cheek. Because I'm a terrible person. I murmur loud enough for Grant to hear. He sighs in response. Brooke, no. I cut in bluntly. Just let me get this out. I take a look at Grant, his eyebrows furrowed to the point where they are nearly touching. His lips form a line of concern. I've lied to you. I state. About. Grant drags out. I take a shaky breath before I say the one thing I had dreaded since I saw him again on the front porch after my majestic rescue. The night we first met. Grant stays quiet as the story tumbles out of me, like an ever-ending rock slide. 1.5 years ago I was out on assignment when I got a call from my stepmom. My dad had collapsed, and when I got there he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. It was like how it affects humans. Some form that attacks the elements in a werewolf's blood. He tried chemotherapy, but it wasn't doing anything as it was intended for a human body, not a werewolf face. I have to pause. Remembering my father gives me heartbreak as I had loved him so much. My younger brother, Jordan. He was looking for anything that could help our father. One day he came to me and said he had found a research organization that has the necessary equipment to help find a cure. I told him it didn't seem right, but he went to New York anyways. And I didn't hear from Jordan. And after I had faked my death and left my job, I went looking for him, going straight to New York. The organization he was now working for exchange for a cure was S.E.R.O, but it was too late. My father passed away before any progress was made. But those worthless people made sure that my brother still had to pay for all the time and equipment used, and so he stole money from your pack. Although Caleb stole it back. And they took my brother away and kept him locked up because he failed his deadline. I bite my lip, tears leaking out of my eyes, as I fear for telling the next bit of my story. So one night I broke in, armed and ready to bust my brother out of there. But I was caught. I would do anything for my family, Grant. I state as if to help him understand what I am about to tell him. I told them I would do anything and that anything was to distract you that night at Volts so they could capture Caleb to find out where the money was. In exchange, my brother would be freed. But they lied. I am silently crying now as I lift my eyes slowly to Grant. He isn't looking at me, but out towards the lake in front of us. His eyes are glued to the water, and I can see the tension clenched between his jaw. The betrayal is written all over his face. I go into a helpless scramble after that. I had no intention of it going that far that night. I didn't mean to use you. Stop. It's a cold word that leaves his lips and freezes my heart. My hands are shaky as his head cranes to look at me, and he laughs. A laugh that has my cheeks flushing. It was always going to be too good to be true. I stay silent as he chuckles bitterly again before the hurt returns to his face, his sad smile vanishing. I broke my own rule for you, Brooke. You know, he says as a simple fact, having to see it to believe it. I knew nothing about you. I made myself see what I wanted. Didn't I? I'm still the same person. I try to fend vulnerably, but I am cut off by an angry Grant. Are you? He challenges, his yes blazing as he looks into mine. Because what you just told me changes everything. The Brooke I knew doesn't lie to me. How am I supposed to know now what you told me is the truth or lie? How do I even know that night at Volts if it was your intention or not to get pregnant? It wasn't. I exclaim strongly back, beside the scratchiness of my voice from crying. And I try and make him see sense, even though I know I am doing it in the wrong way. Well, I heard you in your office yesterday. You weren't doing paperwork but using Jeff to help you take down S.E.R.O. Don't you dare try and switch this around, Brooke. The volume he raises his voice has me clamping my mouth shut and shivering. I hid that information from you to not stress you out and the baby. You hid this for me for your own selfish reasons. I was only trying to help my brother. I whimper. Well, guess what, Brooke? Grant says in a mocking tone. Caleb is like my brother. And the fact you willingly helped S.E.R.O. knowing who they are to torture him makes me sick. And I guess after all this you did for your brother, you're still no close to saving him. Are you? That hurt, and I turn my eyes away in shame, hugging myself as I hear him getting up. My eyes dart to him, and all I can muster in a sad plead is, please. I can see his muscles rippling in anger, his eyes shifting from the pale green to a bright yellow. I can see him trying to contain himself. I'm going for a run before I do something I know I am going to regret. But that he walks away to the border to the forest across the opening, not turning back as I see him shift, running and leaving me alone on the bank by the lake. And I cry and cry until I fall asleep on the grass from exhaustion. Chapter 35. My back aches as I wake up. I had completely forgotten where I was as I managed to sit up and watch the lowering sun in the horizon. I had also forgotten what had happened and why I had fallen asleep near the lake to begin with. But when it does come flooding back, I wish it had added I had stayed asleep. I knew Grant's reaction was going to be good, but it was worse than what I would have thought. Who was I kidding? Of course it was going to be that bad. It would result to him leaving me in the middle of the forest. A kick from my baby drags me out of my thoughts as I subconsciously place a hand on my belly, giving it a rub. I still got you, Munkin. I whisper, another lonely tear running down my cheek. I thought I would have run out, but clearly not. Not wanting to face the pack house, I decide to go for a long walk. I had discovered many forest trails and walked through them well after it got dark. It gave me time to think as well as chicken out from having to go face the music. What seemed like hours later, my feet and legs hurting, I arrived back at the pack house. Quietness was surrounding it, which was odd considering it's noisy most of the time. Walking up the porch steps, exhausted, I planned on going straight to my room and back to bed. But walking past the living room to get to the stairs, I see Abby huddled together on one of the sofas. When spotting me, they both get up, relief washing over them as they scramble to me. Brooke. Oh my gosh. Thank God you're okay. Annie says as she gives me a tight hug, pulling away but keeping her hands on my shoulder, looking me up and down. I, on the other hand, am completely confused as to why she is so happy to see me. Yeah, I'm fine. My voice sounds awful. which causes Abby to give me a pointed look. What happened? You look and sound like crap. Abby comments, and I am too tired to either laugh or scowl at her. Annie, however, gives her a pointed look. Sorry? You'll just go in from everyone the search party is off. What? I ask, my eyes widening in surprise. Abby guilty smiles as she walks around me and out the front door. Brooke, you've been gone for hours. When Grant came back and we told him you hadn't come home yet, he full-on freaked out and sent everyone to look for you. Are you sure everything's okay? Still too tired to have a reaction to that. I shrug. I just went for a walk. And now I am going to bed. With that I walk past Annie and head to the stairs. About halfway up them, I hear an angry slam of the door, which stops me in my tracks. I turn to look down and see a fuming Grant as he comes to stand at the bottom of the stairs looking dangerously at me. Was this some stupid way to get back at me? He comes straight out with it, harshness coating his words as everyone watches. What? I ask, not understanding him. I left you out there so you decided to go missing for attention or just to make a big deal. What little energy I have left turns into anger. No, I fell asleep and went for a walk. I didn't mean to cause a scene. You fell asleep in the middle of no, and went for a walk at night in the forest. Do you have no concern for our baby you're currently carrying? For the danger you put the child in. Not wanting to agree his right. I clap my hand on the railing. Well, I'm sorry you decided to leave my pregnant self in the middle of nowhere. Now if that's all you wanted to yell at me about for today, I think I am going to go to bed. I wait as I see Grant glaring at me, but he doesn't say anything as I let out an angry and tired sigh as I turn around and head back up the stairs. My heart feels like it's breaking into a million pieces. I had forgot the arrangement I had made with Jeff when I walked into my room. He was sitting on the end of my bed on the phone when I walked through the door. If I had any energy left, I would kick him out. He spots me before he goes back to the phone call. Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Rhodes, that I am going to have to go. He says, eyeing me. He's talking to my stepmom. Right now, more than anything, I want to snatch the phone from him and talk to her. But I would be putting her in danger if I did that. I will give you an update soon. Brooke was always good at hiding. I'm sure Chef fine. Jeff reassures before nodding. Yep, bye. I go to sit next to him. I let out a heavy built-up sigh. Jeff hangs up and looks to me. You told him. All I can manage is a nod if I am crying again. It hurts. How 1 minute he was looking at me with such care and the next was as if he wished I had never met him. Brooke. He whispers and slings an arm around my shoulder. As I cry on his. I don't know how long I sit there as Jeff tried to comfort me. When I finally pull away, a desperate thought comes into my head. Can you take me home? Jeff goes tense, looking at me confused. Brooke, you can't go home. Yes, I can. I sniff, annoyance in my voice. I can live in California with my stepmom. I can be away from the danger of S.E.R.O. You're obviously overtired, Jeff states. And you haven't thought of all the consequences. Firstly, there is the matter of S.E.R.O finding you and your mother if you leave. Secondly, you're pregnant, and I don't think Grant will react well to your departure. I sigh. Of course, HES right. Like he always used to be. I feel Jeff get off the bed. I look at him to see him wearing a sad smile. You can try and add from this one, Brooke. Maybe a year ago when things were different, but your situation has changed. All I managed was nod and a sniff. I try drying my eyes with the back of my sleeve as Jeff approaches the door. Where are you going? He drops his hand from the handle. You'll probably want some space tonight. You'll go crash on the couch downstairs. Realizing my new living arrangement again, I force back the tears that threatened to spill. All I manage is a curt nod before a good night, and Jeff leaves the room. And I fall back to sleep. Alone. Chapter 36. I was mopping in my bed for a few long hours of the morning into the afternoon. I was exhausted, but the main reason I wasn't going downstairs was because I was afraid to. But when I did finally face my fears and was a little past midday, and I headed downstairs. It was quiet as the dining room was being packed away after lunch. As I headed for the kitchen, I saw Abby, giving her a smile, but she doesn't return either. I greet her as we come to stand face to face. I heard through the grapevine of what you told Grant yesterday, she says flatly, and my stomach drops. Abby, I honestly didn't know what I was going to say before she cut me off. Please, Brooke, Abby says with the roll of her eyes. Normally a playful gesture turns to be harsh. Save your words for someone who cares. A little shocked at her change of attitude, I helplessly gape at her. For a second I see regret in her eyes, but they turn hard again. My sister risked her neck for you. And it turns out I saved the culprit, not the victim. And with her new opinion of me, she brushes past me, thumping my shoulder on her way out of the dining area. I bite back my emotions as I walk into the kitchen. Luckily, everyone else is too busy preparing for a dinner to notice me sneak out some leftovers. Heading outside, I embrace the cold as it washes away the flush on my cheeks from the confrontation with Abby. Did I expect her to understand my situation? Or did I even suspect Grant to actually tell people about my lies? And just thinking about Grant bubbles the emotions I wanted to keep locked away, but the tears reappear nonetheless. And as I try to frantically wipe them away, I notice someone approaching. Trying to not attract attention, I eat, but the figure comes to sit opposite me on the picnic table. I peer up to see Dom, Martha's son. His blue eyes shine with a smile, and I fail in returning one. I wait for him to lash out at me. Even though he can't talk, I expect a glare or a hateful gesture, but his expression doesn't change. Instead, he pulls out a notebook and a pen from his pocket. He flips it open, writing something down before turning it for me to read. How are you doing? I look up to him, utterly confused by the question as he pulls the notebook back. Fine. It was just a long day yesterday. I admit, and when he gives a pitiful smile, I realize he knows what happened yesterday. He writes something down on his notebook again before showing me. The others are probably upset with you because they don't understand. But I know how you feel. Pregnant, hormonal, and a liar. I ask. Even thought the words come out harsher than intended. But Dom just shakes his head with an amused smile. He writes again. I won't ever know what it's like to be pregnant, but I have been a liar. And it cost the people that I loved a lot. It cost me my tongue. I look up to him, surprised he would mention it. You're originally from Italy. You and Martha. He nods, sadness clouding in his eyes. He writes out his story, and I wait a while until he turns the notebook to me again. I was born and raised in a village Olcheac, near the border to France. My mother owned a bakery, and the pack I was from had a rivalry pack. For decades, and probably to this day, they fight over the territory or the village in the cliffy mountains surrounding it. And being young and stupid, wanting more than I thought I joined the rivalry pack. I guess that was a mistake. I whisper and he nods, writing again. A year later, after I traveled around Italy, I come back to my home to find the pack I had joined had gone further before in fighting my original pack. I found out they killed my father as he was trying to protect my mother's bakery from falling into their grasps. So I confronted the alpha. He couldn't have cared less until I opened my mouth to tell my old pack their weaknesses and defense. I know where the story is heading, but he still writes it out for me. He cut out my tongue, not only so I didn't say anything, but as a warning. So my mother and I fled Dolceacqua to America, leaving the town our family had lived for generations, all because of my lies and mistakes. Eventually we stumbled here, and my mother, knowing her, was thrilled to have a job cooking again. Only if to distract her. I reminisce on his story, all that he went through, and here he is, still standing tall. I sit in silence for a while, and I don't notice him sliding his notepad back to me on a new page. Do you know what happened afterwards, though? I shake my head, and he writes down the answer. Even after all my lies and mistakes, my mother still forgave me, just like they will forgive you. Chapter 37. At the time, Dom's story gave me hope for the others' forgiveness, but as a month and a half went on, it started to slip away. I was halfway through my 7th month of pregnancy, and it seemed things have changed. I was alone most of the time. I normally had Jeff to hang out with, but he's never around anymore, chasing down leads for Grant on people who can help bring down S.E.R.O. So far, not many people from my old organization are as loyal to us as they are now new one. But as I had normally hung out with Raina, Annie's family or Abby, I just receive blank look from them now. Annie seems she wants to talk to me, but a look from Abby keeps her away. And Grant, well, I don't see him anymore. Only glimpses of him in the corridors. I tried to talk to him at first, but he had no intention of talking to me. And so my doctor's appointments with Drive Norton were just attended by myself. And when I received photos of my ultrasound, I would write a note on the baby's perfect health on the back and slip it under his door. He might not care about me anymore, but I know he cares for the baby. Even though the air gets cooler day by day Drive Norton says it's still good to exercise, and so I do a routine walk around the forest trails every morning in a thick coat. However, this morning things played out a little differently. I was walking down the porch step, my hand on the railing, when I felt a pain run through the base of my back. I hissed out of breath and stop, hunching forward and rubbing the pained area. It slowly dulls away as I take deep breath. Brooke. My head shoots up to see Abby looking like she had just gotten off patrol duty. For the first time in over a month, she has a new expression when seeing me. Concern. You okay? I wave it off. It's fine. I always had trouble with my back. That being true, as I had injured it a few times in my old line of work. It probably was just a nerve spasm or something. You sure? Abby is a little sterner now, and I just nod. And it followed my long awkward pause. Realizing nothing is going to be said, I sigh and continue on my way past Abby to the forest trails. Brooke. I halt in my steps and turn to Abby. She bits her lip before rubbing her forehead. You might want to watch your steps on the eastern trail with a little frost this morning. I nod, giving a small smile. Thanks, I will. And the Sky Lake Trail is a little muddy from the rain yesterday. She informs me, and I nod before turning back around, ready to begin my walk. I hear a loud sigh behind me. Wait. Abby exclaims, and slightly alarmed I turn back to her. She looks around before back at me. I'll just come with you to make sure nothing happens. Just to be safe. I suppress a grin at Abby's weird behavior and nod. Sure. And with that, she easily catches up to me as we start walking. We walk in silence side by side. I honestly don't know what to say when for over a month Abby hasn't talked to me, and now she is making sure that I don't get hurt on a simple walk that I have been doing for ages now. I can't take the silence anymore, although nice and peaceful. The tension between us takes it away. I'm sorry. The words fall out of my mouth, and Abby halts for a second in surprise before sighing. I'm sorry too, she says, and I feel some of the weight from loneliness seep away. I know what I did was wrong, but it was for your brother, and I would have done the same for my sister if I had to get her out that place. Mind you, she is in a very similar situation. Abby sighs, and I can tell she is very worried for her older sister, but that wasn't the reason I was mad at you. You lied, Brooke, and for a long time, which had me questioning the truth you told in the end. I guess that was the big turn-off for me. The lying I did. If I had just told the truth, would I be rejected by Grant? Would our future been different? Abby? I genuinely had no intention of sleeping with Grant that night. I got drunk and somehow landed in this situation with the only intention of saving my brother from his own stupidity. And now I believe you. Mainly because the only reason you would be attracted enough to hook up with Grant, besides his looks, if he had too many dry whiskeys, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, HES no fun. Abby exclaims, but it doesn't really bring a smile to my face. Abby winces. Too soon. A little. Still suffering is what I call heartbreak from Grant. Laughing at jokes about him to cheer me up still is more painful than funny. Abby sighs again before I hear her phone beep. She takes it out and reads the message. A smile coats her lips. Curiosity gets to me. Who is? I ask, and she turns to me, putting her phone away in her back pocket. I might have a date tonight. She plays coy, and I gape at her. I didn't really see any guy in this pack worthy of Abby's standards to date. And your date is? Abby rolls her eyes. My lips are sealed. Tonight I thought I was going to have a nice sleep, although someone else had other plans. I woke with pressurizing pain in my stomach. Startled at first, I breathed through it, thinking the baby kicked me really hard. It settled again, giving me a minute of peace before it started again. Slightly panicked now, I get out of my bed, switching on the light as I rub my stomach, and put my hand at the base of my back. When it goes, I get up again, heading to the door, being as quick as possible before thinking of where to go. Abby. She lives in a room downstairs and the least far away to get to. In the middle of my way down the flight of stairs, another pain comes and I stop, holding on to the railing so hard it makes my knuckles turn white as I little groan. Once relieved of pain again, I continue walking and get to Abby's room, thankful to find the light on inside from the cracks above and below the door. Without thinking, in a frightened hurry, I open the door. Abby, holy crap. I have to avert my eyes from a very naked Abby and a very naked Raina on the bed, doing things. I laugh at myself from a thought I had earlier today. Not seeing any guy in the pack worthy of Abby's standards to date. But a girl. Brooke, what the hell? Abby practically screams as she fumbles on the bed, probably trying to cover herself. But in perfect timing, I receive another pain and lean on the doorframe, hunched forward as I cup my belly. Wariness floods me again in a growing panic, as I fear that I am going to premature labor or having a miscarriage. I think Abby notices that I hiss out in labored breaths. Brooke, what's happening? I don't know. I just need help getting down to the medical clinic, I say once it passes. The girls leap into action and I turn away as I get changed. I feel Abby approach me. They'll go wake drive. Norton, Raina says, slightly unsure of herself before she leaves the room. Abby supports me by holding my elbow and placing a hand on my back. I did tell you I was having a date tonight. Brooke. That's not what usually happens in a date. Abby. I remind her and I hear her chuckle as we walk. Maybe not in your dates. I give her a flat look. Braxton Hicks contractions. Nothing to worry about. A very tired-looking drive. Norton says to me in his nightgun. It was about 10 minutes ago the pain stopped. Are you sure? I am still slightly worried, as I lay on my all-too-familiar bed in the medical wing. Abby sits beside me, hearing drive. Norton's diagnoses make her roll her eyes in an exhausted manner. Drive Norton manages a small light laugh. Yes, Brooke. Everything is fine. It's very common for women to experience them. It's a sign your body's getting ready to go through labor. Some women aren't even feel them. Those women are lucky. I think bitterly. Okay. Sorry to wake you up. I apologize, but he just shakes his head. Absolutely fine. I rather you did than didn't. If you feel these pains again, some women find it help to elevate their legs and drink water. You can stay here tonight or go back to your room if you prefer. Good night, Brooke. Good night. I say before drive. Norton disappears out the door and probably back to bed, where I will be going soon. I turn to Abby and see her giving me wide eyes, as if hinting for something. The Empire Deception by Dwight Mason and E.Y. Gwet. The undocumented changeling and forced to cause of a low-level witch. I question and she glares at me. You apologize to Drive, Norton, for waking him up. Where's mine for getting up in the middle of the night for a false alarm? Abby says with a pout. Well, where's my apology for having to walk in on you and Raina? That was more than I ever planned to see of you. I tease, gritting my teeth in a cringe. Well, it's not my fault you didn't knock. She comes back, and we glare at each other. This was before my face broke out in a grin. I had missed talking, more like fighting, with Abby. Fine. I'm sorry. I say, and Abby seems quite smug. And thank you. Abby is about to speak again, but the door is opened, and I bite my lip to see who it is. Grant walks and I can't look him right in the eye as he comes further into the room. Raina said you were having pains. I thought that. Grant drifts off from the first words he has spoken to me in what seems like forever. False alarm. Abby speaks first, cutting through the enormous amount of awkwardness around the room. I can see Grant's shoulders relax with a sigh. It was just Braxton Hicks' contraction. It's fine, I murmur, looking at the wall instead of Grant. Right, I just wanted. Grant clears his throat. I just came to make sure the baby was all right. Good night. And with that, and nothing else to say, he walks out of the room. I force myself not to be hurt by his words. I made the mistake. Not him. Although it upsets me nonetheless. Do you need help to your room? Abby breaks the saddened silence. I give her a grim nod as she helps me off the bed for some much-needed rest. Chapter 38. Why are you dragging me to Annie's apartment? I question as Abby leads the way through the 4th-level corridor. I don't know, but she said it was important. She informs me as we make it to a door. One swift knock from Abby and it's being opened by a smiling Annie. She ushers us in. Brooke. Annie smiles and I can see she finds it slightly awkward as she was avoiding me for a while. But then last minute she gives me a great big hug. I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to feel after all that. And someone didn't find it right to talk to you. I turn to see Abby pretending not to be there, looking at noting in particular. I shake my head with a small laugh. It's fine, Annie. I deserved it. Don't say such things, Brooke. Annie protests. You were stuck in a pretty tough situation. I just nod with a tight smile before looking around. Her apartment reminds me of Grant's. Not as big, but the layout. Although, she does have more homely traits in here, such as photo frames and fridge magnets. So why am I here, Annie? I ask and she smiles, guiding me to the TV and plunking me down on a sofa. She sits next to me. Well, Abby informed me about your false labor panic a few nights ago. So I have a video that might help you. Annie says, reaching for the TV remote. A video. I question, reaching to the coffee table to see a DV case. When picking it up and inspecting the title, I immediately don't want to be here. The Miracle of Birth. You know what? I'm going to leave you two to it. Abby says as she starts to get up from the armchair she was on. No, you don't, Abby. Annie says, giving her sister a warning glance that has Abby, of all people, crawling back to her seat. This might help you one day. I furrow my eyebrows and look over to Abby. She gives me wide eyes and I realize that Annie doesn't know that her sister is into girls compared to guys. Especially the girl I caught her with the other night. None of the then Raina. Grant's sister. I give her a smile of understanding, before turning back to Annie. So is this what I think it is? Yep, it goes from the start of labor all through to the birth. It will help for when you're ready to pop in a couple months. Annie smiles. It can't be that bad. I say, before it starts to play. Oh my God. Why did they choose this camera angle? I screech as I forgot to close my eyes at the video playing before me. All I can say is seeing the birthing end of things between the woman's legs isn't making me feel any better. And it is no comfort to hear the women's screams. Annie, you know I hate horror movies. Abby complains as I see her with her hands over her face. She keeps scissoring her fingers to see if it's over or not. Would you two calm down? This is perfectly natural. Annie says. Somehow she has not taken her eyes away from the screen. How is that natural? I cringe as the lady on the screaming again and I am forced to watch as she pushes the baby out. What is that? It's the baby's head. If you would listen to the voice-over you would know. Annie sounds slightly annoyed. Like she is a library and trying to silence the library. Sorry, but it's hard as the woman is screaming her head off. Abby whines, now blocking her ears as well as her eyes. Annie grumbles, but that is forgotten as I watch the doctor catch the baby as it finally pops out. The video plays some cheesy, sappy music as the baby is being cleaned before handed to the mother. Thank God it's over. Abby sighs, removing her hands from her face. Annie starts bickering with her, but I am not paying attention as I watch the video. It's the perfect scene of the woman fawning over her new baby, but not alone. Beside her is her husband, just as excited as he kissed the baby's forehead before kissing his wife. That's all it took to feel lonely again. To want that perfect picture as well. Although I know I can't have that. Not anymore. I hadn't realized I was crying until I felt a tear slide from my cheek to fall on my hand resting on my lap. I quickly wipe them away, but I am too late and caught by the two sisters watching me with pity-filled faces. It's going to be all right. Annie whispers before putting an arm around my shoulder, giving me a comforting side hug. It was an hour was walking out of Annie's apartment from that one-of-a-kind experience. I was ready to go to my room and have a nap, but when I got to the stairs I found Jeff. Hey, you're back. I greet him and he smiles when joining me on the landing. Yep, a few minutes ago. Actually, it's good that I bumped into you. Aw, you miss me. I tease and he chuckles. No, he clears his throat, becoming serious again. You remember Agatha? From our unit. A person rings a bell. Agatha was an agent back at our old organization. She was a skilled one too. I only worked with her a few times on a case. She was mainly situated in Las Vegas when I was mainly in Los Angeles. Yes, what about her? She's willing to help with detailing us on information on S.E.R.O. Oh, he informs me. I am a little surprised she chose to join them in the first place over her own freedom. But I guess she needed the money. I look to Jeff and see hesitation. I sense a but. Jeff sighs. Vampire deception. I Drake Mason and Eli Gregg, at the undocumented changeling, and forced to cause at a low-level rate. She's willing to meet up to tell us the information, but she wants you there at the meet-up. Apparently she trusts you more than me. A little taken back by the request, I shake my head. Are you sure? I mean, I barely knew her. Jeff shrugs. I don't understand it either. My first thought it might be a trap, but I looked into her profile. The only reason she took the job was to be able to support her 8-year-old son. She's probably willing to help for your sake more than anything. To her, your situation could be relatable and all. Jeff, I'm willing to go, but there is one massive obstacle in the way of that. I state. Grant. He's not going to let me go. The whole thing will sound too sketchy for him. Well, there's only one way to find out. Jeff says with some hope. Absolutely not. Grant grits his teeth and I sigh. I knew his answer was going to be that. Even though things have changed between us, I still try and sound convincing and confident when talking to him. But really, I would like to hide from the way he is staring at me. Look. I know it seems like a trap, but she seems like she wants to help us. You need the security information she has. If it means I have to be present when she gives it, then it's a risk I'm willing to take. I state. So you're willing to risk your life. And the baby's life. Grant spits out. If it is a trap, which I doubt, S.E.R.O will want the baby and me alive, then. And if you're that worried, then bring back up. I state. Agitation in my voice. It seems Grant is stuck. Agatha seems like she is the only person willing to help us when the only way for that is putting me, and more importantly, the baby, in danger. The only way this is happening is if we organize the meeting place, preferably one where we are in public. Grant compromises. Jeff nods. The most public place will have to be the Westfield Garden State Plaza. It's in between locations it will work. Grant thinks through the idea, before slowly nodding his head. Fine. We will discuss further details later. Grant's attention turns to me. Are you sure about this, Brooke? I nod. Determined to bring down S.E.R.O as much as Grant. They've taken my brother, and the only way to get him back is by destroying them. Chapter 39. Jeff was right. The busiest place to be was the Westfield Garden State Plaza. Everyone was walking around, busy to get to their favorite stores, while Jeff and me tried to act casual and blend in with the crazy amount of people surrounding us. How much longer until we can go to Starbucks? I question, as it seems like this is our fourth lap of the shopping center, and my ankles are starting to appear and hurt. Being pregnant isn't easy, until Grant gives us the go-ahead. How many perimeter checks does he need to do? Jeff sounds just as annoyed as me from what is becoming a high-security check on the place. Grant also making the rule that I am not to leave his sight. We've had to walk around the mall this many times so he can do his perimeter check, but still see me. Then finally, from what seems like forever, Jeff's phone beeps and we head for Starbucks. When entering, it's busy like usual. Names being called and people bustling in and out of the doors. Doing a quick survey of the shop, I spot the familiar figure of Agatha hunched over at a corner table, sitting alone with her head hung low, a coffee beside her. She is in her late 30s with dyed blonde hair, and still has her fighting figure. Jeff and I walk over. When I pull out a chair to sit down, her head whips up. The first thing that gets to me is her bloodshot eyes. "You came," she says, sounding terrified. Jeff grabs a chair and sits next to me, looking as confused as me at the tone of Agatha's voice. "Yes," Jeff says, sternness to his voice. "We arranged it. Are you going to tell us what you know, Agatha?" But she seems to be in her own world. "I was hoping you weren't going to come," she says, and from her expression my heart starts to beat faster. "Why, Agatha?" I whisper, my own voice shaky. Agatha's bottom lip trembles, her blood shoot eyes, becoming watery. "They took him," she whispers, her eyes staring at the table. "They took my son. I had to do this, they threatened my son." She gets out on the borderline of hysterical. Jeff barks out, becoming overly anxious now, but I know the answer to it when a hand is placed on my shoulder. "You looking rather lovely, Brooke." Mr. McCoy's voice sends a chill through me. We've been stood up. Before anything else, I yank the hand from my shoulder, twisting his wrist back, causing him to yelp in surprise. I manage to get up from my chair only to be slapped across the face from a very angry Mr. McCoy in one of his pristine suits I recognize. That's when havoc occurs in the Starbucks. It seems that Grant was the only one who placed disguised people around in the coffee shop, since they are now fighting the other undercover people working for S.E.R.O. The screams erupted as people and workers run out. I see Abby and Raina taking on a few guys at a time, as well as some other people I recognize from the pack. There are no guns used, seeing how that would cause a bigger scene. I watch as a figure goes flying through the room, and see that the thrower was Grant, but I am taken away from that as a hand claps around my wrist. Mr. McCoy yanks me so hard that I am nearly tumbling down to the ground. "Brooke." My name is called by Grant. She is trying to get to me as I am being pulled violently through the midst of what could seem to be a brawl in a coffee shop. But I am lucky as Jeff comes to my rescue, penguin diving on Mr. McCoy. I was thankful I was not dragged down with them as I was released, only to have Grant clamp around my wrists and pull me out of the shop. We get out into a chaotic crowd of scrambling shoppers as well as security coming. Grant pulls me to the left until there is a door down a small corridor, which leads to the fire exit steps. We run down them, my feet hammering down the stone steps until we reach the outside. We still run, looping back. The car receiving odd looks, but make it to the large black car we arrived in. I am all too happy to get in the passenger side and catch my breath. Grant races to the driver's side and starts the car. "Wait, what about the others?" I ask in a scramble as Grant is reversing. "They have enough cars here to get out. They can take care of themselves," Grant says, constantly craning his neck and looking through the windows and side mirrors to see if anyone is following us. "What about Jeff and Abby? They will be fine." I knew this was a shit idea, he whispers harshly, finally getting out of the driveway of the car park and out to the roads. I notice when getting out to the main roads we are heading the wrong way. "Aren't we going home?" I question, rubbing my stomach as if to help calm myself. And the baby down, for it isn't good for the both of us to be stressed. No, I'm not risking them following us back there. And after that is said, we ride in silence. We pull up to an old ratty-looking motel on the outskirts of New York City. It was sunset and the sky has an orange sherbet color tint. About to get out of the car, I am stopped. "Stay in the car," Grant says flatly, although with his usual hint of warning. I close the door again as he opens his and goes to the check-in in front of us. My worries go out to the rest of the pack that have hopefully escaped the failed plan from an hour ago. Thinking about Mr. McCoy has me gritting my teeth, forcing his awful face out of my head. I hate that man, and I have the aching cheek from him to prove it. Grant reappears 10 minutes later with a hotel key in his hand. I get the memo to get out of the car and I silently follow him to across the car lot to the rooms along the downstairs building. Room number 17 isn't as bad as I thought it would be. A bed, bathroom, table and TV. It's convenient and I become slightly awkward as Grant walks into the room with Mume. "Don't you have your own room?" I ask, crossing my arms to give myself a hug. Grant looks at me as if I had grown to heads. "No, it's dangerous for us to be split apart." I'd rather be here to protect you tonight to find you gone in the morning. About to open my mouth to argue. I close it. Too tired to fight, I head over to the bed, picking my side for tonight. I can't help the soft groan leave my lips as I lay down. Today has been quite an overly physical day for a pregnant lady. The lady at the check-in said there is a Chinese takeout place a street away. Have any preferences? Grant asks, trying to sound polite, but coming out more gruff than indented. Am not hungry, I whisper. An agitated sigh is the response. You need to eat, Brooke. You didn't eat much this morning because you were nervous. I shift my head to look him. I didn't realize you were monitoring my food intake. I say, agitation in my voice fueled by another mood swing. Grant glares back at me. I do it for the baby's health, not yours, is what I felt like he was going to end it with, but probably stopped himself. He hates me. He hates me. Not in a mood to argue, I compromise. Fine. I'll eat whatever. Just let me rest first. Grant doesn't say anything in reply, and in a few minutes I fall asleep completely drained from today. I wake to the low hum of a TV playing. I carefully roll over to see Grant at the small round wooden table in the corner eating what smells like Chinese food. It takes me a moment to be able to get up from my oversized stomach, but when I do, I walk over to Grant. He sees me approach. I got a few things. Kick what you like, he says before going back to eating. I grab a fork, being useless with chopsticks, and go for the classic Singapore noodles. The hard bit comes next as I pull out the chair opposite Grant and figure out how to sit down. Being pregnant and trying to sit in a low seat takes time, as I have to carefully squat my knees and do what could be described as a slow descent from my bottom to meet the seat. I sigh as I manage to sit and look up to see an agitated Grant looking at me, his honey chicken half white at his mouth. What? I ask. You're blocking my view of the TV. He states tensely, and I let out a massive sigh. I'd put down my Singapore noodles and fork and do the other time, consuming process of trying to get up. Brooke, just sit. It's fine. Grant sighs and I high him before relaxing again. It was less painful watching the end of Titanic than your sitting down. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but it grated on my nerves. Well, when you're the size of the Titanic, you can judge. You're not the size of the Titanic, Grant says flatly before slyly adding, although you did make a mess of things in the end, didn't you? I don't have to be smart to know the double meaning to that sentence. Anger disappears and sadness and guilt consumes me again. I told you, I whisper. I did what I did for my brother. And what you did nearly got my beta killed. Grant says, and I look to him. H.S. mad. It also succeeded your plan of getting pregnant with my child. I slam my hand on the table, startling Grant with my aggression. I had no intention of getting pregnant that night. My task was to distract you, and all I planned to do was talk. When my phone went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, that was my signal I could leave. But if I remember correctly, you were the one that wanted me to stay. It seems that statement gets through to Grant. Crossing his arms and looking away, he says I was drunk. So was I exclaim, and I can see him gritting his jaw down firmly. You're mad at me because I lied to you. I know it was stupid and I should have come clean, but the emotions swirl within me and they come rushing out. For the first time, I was part of a pack that didn't see me as an abomination or a stupid halfling. My whole life in my old pack, they tormented me for who I was. And with your pack, I felt like I belonged. I was afraid of losing you. Grant doesn't look at me, his eyes are glued to the wall, and I push down the tears threatening to spill from my eyes. I suck in a deep breath, turning away to take a shower to soak away today. As I leave Grant to soak in the words I have just said. Chapter 40. The warm water was nice, getting rid of the tension built up from today. Although when I hopped out of the shower, I had to put on the same clothes I wore staying at motel, and not having any luggage does that to people. I probably used up all the motel's hot water since I stayed in the shower a long time. It was nice, but mainly it was for the reason of staying away from Grant. I stated my case, I said what I had to, and it's up to him now. I can't do anything else, even though I know deep down it's never going to be the same between us. I slide open the door and see Grant sitting on the edge of the bed, his head hung low in thought with his phone in hand. Did you hear from the others? I asked, afraid that Grant's behavior means something bad had happened. Yes, everyone made it out. Some hurt, but they will be okay. Grant answers and I sigh in relief. They also figured out what happened. I step further into the room, drying my hair with a towel. And Grant sighs. Jeff's loyal companions that went to S.E.R.O. One of them was a bad egg. A person he talked to must have let it slip that Jeff was trying to get info on their security, so today was a step up. Ally sent word that Agatha's son was taken from her. If she didn't cooperate, God knows what S.E.R.O. would have done. My anger for Agatha vanishes and is replaced by understanding. No wonder she was so upset. I can sense not much else is to be said, so I walk past Grant over to the table for some food. Still not that hungry. And the food being cold now, I'd go for the fortune cookies. Kicking one up. Brooke. Grant whispers and I turn to see him watching me. He rubs his palms together. His nervous gesture. Then why am I getting all nervous? Yeah. I whisper back, unsure of what he is going to say. You were right, he says, his eyes meeting mine, searching for something. I understood what you did, but I don't understand why you lied to me. I gulp. That statement to me means progress. I slowly walk over to him and slowly sit next to him. I had no right to lie to you, Grant. After all that you have done for me, for our baby. I'm so sorry. My voice cracks at the end, my emotions swirling around inside me. It seems our lives and situations have tangled in each other so much it all seems like such a mess. Grant says, turning his head to face me. But out of all of it, the one thing that shouldn't make sense, but has, is us. A small gasp escapes me at that. My confusion making me search Grant's eyes for some hint of dishonesty, but find none in his pale green eyes. I'm not saying that I forgive you. I want to in the future, but I just need time. I want to try us again. It's only fair because we're having a baby, and giving them a chance for a real family. I think it would be a good thing. My eyes must be wider than an owl's from the way I am gaping at him. I hadn't expected to come out of the shower to hear these words. I also want to try us again because I kind of like you, Brooke. He says, bumping my shoulder and giving me a smirk that I haven't seen in a long time. My lips break into a small watery smile. I kind of like you too. I say, bumping his shoulder back, and he chuckles, which sounds like music to my ears. I feel Grant put his hand on my thigh, giving it a reassuring squeeze as I lean on him, resting my head on his shoulder. So, what's the plan for tomorrow? We've planned to meet up at a place about a half-an-hour drive away from here. From there we will decide. But for now you need to eat and rest. I roll my eyes and snap the fortune cooking in my hand and place half in my mouth. Munching on it, I look down to the small folded white piece of paper. My fortune. Reading it makes a small laugh slip out of me. What does it say? Grant asks, and I hand him the paper. There is no such thing as a mistake. I don't know what time Grant and I went to sleep, nor do I know what time I had just woken up. It's surprisingly cozy in bed. I stretch my hand out to touch Grant, but find him not there. Do you have the tickets? I hear Grant's voice and stay still as I overhear what seems to be a phone call. I know, but it's safer this way. Grant sighs while I am furrowing my eyebrows in question. Who is he talking to and what is he talking about? I'll see you soon, bye. He hangs up and I sigh then to roll over. He sees me and a pleasant smile appears on his face as he comes to kiss me good morning. Although it turns quite steamy as his lips become more urgent as he bends down and cups the back of my. As we both run out of breath, we pull away. What was that for? I chuckle and he smiles brightly at me. Just saying good morning, he says, although I see something hesitant in his expression. H.S. keeping something from me. We should probably get going soon. I get out of bed, curious to ask who was on the phone but go against it. I'm sure I will find out soon enough. In no later than 20 minutes, we have checked out of the motel and headed towards the meetup point. I notice on the car ride there that Grant seems to be on edge about something, and I realize pretty quickly that he isn't going to say anything about it. We arrive at an abandoned warehouse a couple hours away from the pack house. It looks like no one has been here for years. Until now, as I can see the familiar cars of Abby and the rest of the pack. After parking, Grant helps me out of the car very gentlemanlike, which I can't help but shyly smile at him for. Once inside the group of werewolves and Jeff noticed us and I am relieved to see them all unharmed. I greet Tabby and Raina, saying hi to a few others before seeing Jeff. Hey, I say, and I can see he is very nervous to see me. Brooke, I should have been more full. I silence him. Jeff, I agreed to it. We had no idea that someone would turn on us. Let's just forget about it, okay? I suggest, and he seems like he wants to protest, but he closes his mouth and nods. I turn my head to see Grant talking to Raina, and she's holding to suitcases. I approach them slowly as if to overhear their conversation before they notice me, but that doesn't happen. They both go quiet and I focus my attention back on the suitcases. What's with the luggage? I ask and Raina looks to Grant. In my growing patience. Before they can stop me, I look at the tag hanging off one of the bags. It has my name on it. My head whips to Grant and is clenching on his jaw. What's this? I demand, and it sounds like the whole room goes silent. Brooke, Grant manages to get out. You're sending me away. I state, becoming angry, and before I know it, Grant pulls me aside. He takes me into a separate section of the building. When he stops, he turns around to face me, and I wait for his response. You're going to England with Raina, he says, and my jaw drops. What? I could have practically screamed at him. Grant seems prepared for my reaction. It's safer this way for you and the baby. Grant explains, but I'm shaking my head. Not processing anything he is saying. No, you can't. You can't. You can't. I am cut off by my memory of this morning of Grant talking to Raina. Tickets to send me away. You planned this. How long have you planned this for? Grant looks away from me. About 4 months ago. I am taken back from what he says and my anger mixes with hurt. So last night, you decided to start things up again between us so you could just send me away the next day. Why would you do that? Grant sighs. I needed you to know that I care about you. I never wanted you to leave 4 months ago. It was the last resort. But after yesterday, S.E.R.O are not going to stop looking for you and the baby no matter what. You leaving is safer for everyone. No, I'm not going. I say stubbornly, not liking the idea of going to someplace I have never been before. Brooke, please. Grant pleads with me, but I am shaking my head more furiously. I'm not going. I yell. You can't just send me away. For God's sakes, Brooke, you're pregnant. Grant yells back at me. You can't protect yourself the way you used to. The best chance is for you to get as far away from the grasps of S.E.R.O so you can protect our daughter. About to shout back at him, I stop short. It's a girl. I whisper, looking down to my stomach, placing my hand over the top of it, before looking back at Grant. He seems to have just realized what he has said as he starts nervously rubbing his palms together. I didn't mean to. Grant drifts off, but I wasn't paying attention, as I was captivated in my own thoughts. We are having a little girl, and that alone makes the whole baby thing further. And somehow it also allows Grant's other words to sink in. I can't do this on my own. I can't protect myself while I'm pregnant. A sense of helplessness in this situation starts to kick in. I find myself starting to cry. Please don't make me go. My voice cracks into a sob. The next thing I know, Grant has walked up to me and wrapped me in a hug. I cling to his jacket as if I didn't have to let him go. I don't want to do this, Brooke. He whispers in my ear, rubbing his hand up and down my back. I thought I could protect you from all this, but I can't, and I don't know what else to do anymore. And I realize that maybe Grant is feeling as helpless as me in this moment. I pull away slightly and Grant uses his thumb to brush away the sticky tears on my face. Where would we go in England? Raina told me there is still some of my old pack there. Alive. Grant says. The Underwood pack. Yes, my auntie and uncle will be happy to take you in. Having a little shadow baby around will certainly improve the pack's mood. Grant tries to sound happy about the idea himself, but it doesn't work. How long would I be gone for? I ask the dreaded question, and when I am met with silence, I know Grant doesn't know the answer to that either. His hands move down to rest on my belly, rubbing his thumbs in circles over the stretched skin. It would have been nice to have a family again, he whispers, sadness seeping out of his voice from that fact he is sending his only sister and child away, leaving him alone once again. I tilt my head up to meet his lips, and this morning when Grant kissed me, he wasn't kissing me good morning, he was kissing my goodbye.